Welcome back to the program. With me now, Ben Oquist and David Gazard. David, first to you. Let's look at these numbers. Continue to be encouraging, don't they? Although the government, and we'll put those numbers on the screen for our viewers on a national basis, and then we'll see the curve. And as I said, the PM and the Health Minister and others still quite, positive, cautiously optimistic is the best way to put it, David.
Yeah, I think no one wants to declare victory, but obviously everyone's happy with the direction this is going. And what is particularly heartening is to start hearing the debate from the states that have played a part in the National Cabinet, that they are looking forward, should we get through Easter and the school holidays, at starting to ease restrictions and get people back to work, maybe back into the shops. We're having debates now about whether we might see football again, which is great. That would be a fantastic thing to see. But, I don't think anyone's jumping up and down and saying we've got there yet, because the overseas experience has been through festivals and holidays that you can get a spike, which is why the government has been very, very keen to reinforce the message that, hey, stay at home this Easter.
Yeah, that's right. And the Prime Minister finished question time on that very note, Ben.
Yeah, and he should. And they have flattened the curve. The actions of the Commonwealth Government, Scott Morrison, the Premiers, they've done well and better than a lot of people expected. They acted early, they acted on good scientific advice, they acted quickly, even though it was going to hurt the economy slightly. So congratulations to them all for getting on with it and doing it early and preventively. A good preventative medicine has really smashed that curve at the moment, notwithstanding the good point that with holiday periods coming up, it could get out of control. And I think if you can get through Easter and get through school holidays, there will be a bit of a clamour to relax some restrictions while keeping social distancing, and that'd be a good thing. I think this might have less far to go than some people had previously thought.
David, it was a momentous day at Parliament today, wasn't it? A very brief sitting, but an important one, with this huge spending bill through and a very quiet, respectful mood in the chamber.
I think people are rising to the occasion. And to be honest, that's been going on now for 3 or 4 weeks. Australia pulled a masterstroke by setting up the National Cabinet, which brought our federation together, as well as obviously our sittings today. But that's enabled us to have a unified approach. It's worked well. There have been some disagreements at that level, but it's brought us together as a nation. Whether it's also, I think, allowed Australians to see that when the Prime Minister says there's no red or blue team, he's been dead serious about that. But it's forged the nation together, working together, and it's enabled each state government to have a say, vitally, in the management of the things that affect them in their states. Now, that hasn't been smooth all the way, but it is certainly held together. And I think that's been a credit to the way they've run things.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch trampling ideology almost, Ben Oquist.
I know, it's been a funny thing to say that ideology should be checked out because we're in a crisis, as though you might keep the ideology even when it's not working at other times. It's a bit mysterious to me, but it was a good thing that Parliament was sitting today. That's a good thing. There was good questions from Chris Bowen about what the private health insurance industry is doing, and maybe they're going to have a $5.5 billion windfall. Jim Chalmers pointing out that the Treasurer had discretion to put in casuals in universities and local government in the future if he wanted. Tony Burke and the Greens pursuing protections for the arts industry all point to the reason to have Parliament sitting, and we need more of it. And of course, the big structural thing that happened today is that a Senate Select Committee has been set up, a proper oversight committee. And you know that group of former retired judges had been pursuing such a New Zealand-style model. And it just all points to the reason for more parliamentary scrutiny when such big decisions are being made. The Select Committee is a good check and scrutiny. It's good for the government, it's good for policy, it's good for public trust in government and decision making. And that's what Parliament's before. Yeah. It should be sitting, but at least we've got that Parliamentary Scrutiny Oversight Committee set up today following that call from those retired judges.
And that'll start its hearings next week, that Senate committee. So the scrutiny will continue even though the Parliament doesn't sit. David, where to now? Is it, obviously we'll get to Easter, spend time with our families at home and take a bit of a breather. It's almost day by day, isn't it? Just trying to monitor those numbers and national cabinet by national cabinet, day by day.
I think that's right. The PM was keen to get the message out early on that he saw the way things were running as a series of concentric circles, with the outermost circles being the least most essential activities. And so they collapsed things in from the outside. Now, there was some disagreement about that, and there was a debate about locking down each state. We haven't quite have to go there. But there will be a debate now about what are the things you bring back on stream while maintaining the momentum we've got to flattening the curve. So you may see, you know, a debate about how we go about schools on the other side of school holidays. There's already been some premiers and education ministers out on that. You might see football resume without people in stands, obviously. You might see people starting to go back shopping. I don't know what that is. I think that's still to be decided. But you're obviously going to start staging your way back out of this, provided we can keep the momentum towards flattening the curve further.
Yeah, just keep our foot on the keep a lid on it, for want of a better term. But you know, Ben Oquist, your final thoughts. Only got about a minute left, but your final thoughts before we wrap up.
I think the debate will somewhat settle down now. There's less disagreement on economic policy and health policy than there once was. I do think politically it's good for incumbents. We've got Queensland elections, Northern Territory elections this year, the ACT elections this year. So we'll see whether this political environment is good for incumbents. But overall, I think from Donald Trump to Jacinda Ardern to Michael McCormack, I don't think he's going to face a threat from Barnaby Joyce anytime soon to Scott Morrison, that politically such crises tend to work for incumbents. And I think we're seeing that play out.
Ben Oquist, David Gazzard, thanks. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
That's all for the program.
No problem.
Thanks.